Minecraft being a sandbox game can be whatever you want it to be. Some people want to build, some want to mine, some want to build working computers out of redstone. However, it seems like a lot of people want this game to get creepy, so they did it themselves. The stories they shared are what we're exploring today. Greetings gamers and welcome to Minecraft Nightmare, a channel all about Minecraft and the horrors that lurk within. Today we start that journey with a list of the top 10 scary Minecraft creepypastas. Most of these are newer, so you'll still be scared. Let's do it. And at 10, red axolotl. Breeding axolotls has become the shiny hunting of Minecraft, forcing hundreds of axolotls to relentlessly just go at each other until one comes out. Blue is probably the best pastime, at least in 1.17. Since the blue axolotls are only a 1 in 2,000 chance, but be warned, there is another color of axolotl that is even rarer than blue and far more deadly. I don't know how rare they are, but while I was trying to get a whole army of blue axolotls, I ended up making a red one. At first I thought Minecraft had finally added defects as a consequence of inbreeding, but I don't think that's what happened, because this red cutie was absolutely vicious. Axolotls aren't supposed to fight other axolotls and unhostile ocean mobs, but this guy would attack anything in his line of sight. He wiped out my axolotls within a minute and then tried to kill squid and even dolphins in the adjacent area. Luckily he was blocked off from the rest of the sea, but this guy was a maniac. Eventually he gave up on the other animals and I went to check on him. Instead he attacked me, and he was dealing 4 hearts of damage every hit, and I had on full netherite armor. I quickly closed the world before I could die, but when I joined the next morning, the red axolotl was gone. And at 9, disc 14. Loading into a new world was underwhelming to say the least. Since the 1.17 update came in 2 parts, the world hadn't really changed much aside from a couple of new blocks and textures, as well as some animals. But one thing I wasn't expecting, and that I didn't see mentioned in any patch notes or websites talking about the update, was a new music disc. The one was fairly easy to find. I found it right away in a dungeon that had spawned near the surface of a desert. I brought it back to my base and got to mining so I could find a diamond to make a jukebox. But when I played it, it was not what I expected. Disc 14 had a similar vibe to Disc 13 and 11. It started off with walking on sand, then digging and fighting off a couple spiders, then it changed. It was digging stone in a consistent pattern as if it was strip mining. Then you could hear the faint sound of monsters being fought. That's when it clicked. This is everything I had done since the start of my world. This disc, somehow, was recording me. At least until the end of the disc came, and the player death sound played. And it ate Dripstone. I had set up a mechanism to kill the wither using Dripstone. I'm sure you've seen it on YouTube, where you have a series of pistons above a hole all the way to bedrock that you fill with Dripstone, but mine never seemed to work. I would safely press the button from my base, but nothing would happen. The Dripstone would fall but not hurt the wither. I made sure the hole was on the wither's hitbox, and it was. Everything should have been working fine. So I figured it was an issue of the Dripstone falling too far away from me and despawning. So I waited next to the machine in an attempt to drop it. And it worked, but instead of falling down the hole, the Dripstone somehow fell onto me. Keep in mind, I wasn't underneath it. It somehow fell into the hole and warped above my head, killing me instantly. No matter what, anytime I dropped the Dripstone, it would land on my head. If I was underground, above ground, under a roof, it didn't matter. It followed me. I could have been on the other side of the world, and a Dripstone would still fall and kill me. At least, I think they were falling. They may also have just been spawning above my head. And at 7, red-eyed goat. The official 1.17 update didn't add caves or cliffs, ironically, but they did manage to add the planned mobs to the game. The goat is my favorite one. It's the goat, with the glow squid being my least favorite. Understandable. At least until I saw it. I was at my base after updating my world. I had been building an underground city in an extreme hills mountain, when it was suddenly flooded with goats. Like the mob cap was being taken up by all the goats that were swarming my base. It was incredibly out of hand, so I did the one thing that anyone would do in that situation. I made a giant hole and started pushing them into it.
This is Sparta!
I didn't attack them because somehow these goats are pretty strong and I didn't want to lose my 100 levels. So as I pushed these beasts into the fiery hole of hell, they seemed to be disappearing, and I seemed to be reclaiming my base. However, when I got back the next day, after clearing them all out, they had somehow returned. Even though this was a single player world and there was no way that they could have spawned while the world wasn't being loaded. I also noticed that they seemed to be more gray than before, and also somewhat transparent. The only one that seemed normal was one goat standing over looking over my village, but this one had red eyes. I walked up to it, but it checked me, and even though I didn't attack it, it knocked me off the cliff and nearly killed me. Now it chases me around my world, forever trying to kill me. And at 6, the Warden. The experimental 1.18 snapshots are insane. The depths of the world are incredible to see, at least if you have torches. Without them, you're basically blind. This spelunking mission started off like any other, with my 4 stacks of torches and my wits. I dove deep into the caverns beneath my base in an attempt to find some Skulk sensors for redstone builds that I had seen online. It took nearly 2 hours, but eventually I stumbled into a cave that had some bits of Skulk along the floor. So I got out my snowballs in case a warden showed up and jumped inside. There were no wardens from what I could see, which was lucky since I didn't have much gear, and if that thing got a hold of me, I'd be a goner. So I walked through carefully, until eventually I found a Skulk sensor. As I approached it, it sensed my movement and did its signature thing. I thought it was fine since it wasn't connected to anything, but god was I wrong. As it lit up, a warden spawned on top of it, and instantly it knew where I was. I tried running, tried shifting, tried towering, it knew. It was also able to break blocks and came at me with relentless force as I ran back to my base. Nothing was stopping it. It even followed me into the nether. It was also able to break the bedrock of the nether roof. Halfway through into number 5, failed to load version. I was so excited for the first part of the Caves and Cliffs update. The day it came out, I made sure I was home so I could load it up on my computer. I did that and then started working, letting it install so that I could play it when I was done. When I clocked out and went to my computer, however, it wouldn't load. I kept getting the same message over and over. Error, failed to load version. I looked it up online and there was nothing about this error message for any of the Minecraft versions, let alone 1.18. I figured it was just a mistake, so I tried again. Nothing. Tried giving it more memory. Nothing. Closed all my background tasks. Nothing. It got to a point where I just started clicking play over and over again to no avail. I started and just couldn't stop. That was 3 days ago. I haven't moved from this spot since. I haven't worked, haven't ate, I haven't even drank water. I can't get myself to move. I need to play the update. Error, 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 error. Failed to load version. And at 4, player 2. I know that there's people trying to work out the hidden lore of Minecraft, but Mojang added some weird mechanics in 1.17 that makes me scared to find out the truth. I was playing hardcore 1.17 when I stumbled across a woodland mansion. I was pretty decently geared, so I figured I'd go in and grab myself a totem of undying. I fought my way through the various illagers until I came across a room full of blue and gray wool. It was weird, but I know those have been in the game for a while. When looking for the evoker, I came across the altar room as well, which did indeed have the evoker inside, but when I ran up to attack it, I saw that same blue and gray wool, and the evoker was holding the totem of the undying. As I got closer, the evoker looked at me and touched the wool with the totem, and the wool seemingly came to life, making a new player simply named Steve with the default Minecraft skin. He ran at me and started punching me, but thanks to my gear the attacks basically did nothing. But when I went to kill this new player, he wouldn't die. Well, what I should say is he would die, but he had what felt like infinite totems of undying. I left the mansion, but Steve kept following me. I made it back to my base, but as I did, he broke my helmet, and then he put it on. He was stealing my armor. I closed the game, but even when I sleep, I can't stop hearing the constant sound of being punched by another player. Getting close to the end in number 3, Bloop. There are many naming Easter eggs in Minecraft, like naming mobs dinner bone turns them upside down, or naming a sheep Jeb underscore will make it a rainbow, or the lesser known Vindicator name of Johnny turning them into a living Shining reference. But there was one I discovered accidentally for axolotls that I really don't recommend. I had finally managed to get a blue axolotl, which was 1 in a like 2,000 chance. So I wanted to name it after a fish I had as a kid. I got a name tag and named my new blue axolotl Bloop after my first pet. but doing this caused some really weird things to happen. Firstly, the axolotl changed from a blue to a semi-transparent white. Bloop also started attacking every creature it could. He attacked other axolotls in the tank and even tried getting out onto land to attack my nearby farm animals. Once I had made sure to seal him in, Bloop started spawning guardians. I don't know why, since axolotls are supposed to attack guardians, but these seemed friendly towards him. It was especially concerning when he spawned the Elder Guardian on the top of the tank. That's when I closed my game and never opened that world again. But ultimately, in at number 2, Skulk. It was the day of the latest 1.17 snapshot, and I was working my way down to the new layer of the world, going below where bedrock would have been the last update, and into the bowels of my Minecraft world. It was dark, so dark in fact that torches wouldn't light more than 3 blocks away. Night vision potions were the way to go, since mobs would spawn unless you could place torches every few blocks. I searched the deepest reaches of my world for hours, even if it felt like days, not coming across anything I was hoping for. They had added Skulk sensors, but Wardens weren't in the snapshot. I continued through the caves, with all new ambient sounds that were creepier than ever before, looking for Skulk sensors. All the while fighting off waves and waves of mobs. It took ages and many pickaxes, but at around 2 in the morning I finally stumbled onto a Skulk cave and there were no mobs to be seen. I guess only Wardens were able to spawn on the Skulk infested blocks. I walked into the wave, and just as I stepped inside, my night vision potion wore off. I checked my inventory and that was my last one. My under chest was also empty, so I continued inside, hardly being able to see. But out of the corner of my eye, I see what looks like glowing white eyes blink. At first I thought it was an Enderman, but when I look at where the eyes were, they just disappeared, instead of getting mad and attacking. I take a step closer and my character freezes, almost as if they're frozen with fear, but I can't move at all. I can open my inventory and my menus, but I can't move an inch. I go into third person and see what's wrong, and see my skin slowly being transformed, as if the Skulk was crawling up me. It moves quickly, and soon enough I'm covered in Skulk. Then my character starts growing. I go back to first person to see my vision also disappearing. My screen slowly gets black, and I am the world's first Warden. And finally, in at number 1, Cavern. It was dark and raining outside. I was home alone playtesting the new Caves and Cliffs snapshots. The new world gen was beautiful, but still felt like Minecraft. The cliffs were steep and the caves deep. The world seemed to be living with all new areas and more, but the caves were more than I had bargained for. The giant dripstone caves were magnificent, but worrying. It felt like a dripstone would fall on me at any moment. But the thing is, it didn't fall on me, it fell behind me. Somehow, a dripstone had fallen behind me and crashed into the ground, causing the cave to seal behind me. Now, this would normally have been fine. It was Minecraft. Half the name is mine for crying out loud, but my pickaxe only had a few uses left, and I was in hardcore, so punching through would put me at risk, since it would take so long, especially in the pitch black caves of Minecraft 1.17. But I tried anyway. I managed to break 2 bits of stone with my pick before it broke, and then I proceeded to punch the rest. It took ages, I forget how long, and the game knew what I was doing. It knew I shouldn't be doing it, so it started hurting me. It started making my fist bleed and my vision foggy. It took all night, but by the time I got out, my character was covered in his own blood, and my eyes had grown accustomed to the dark. I hit F5 to see the full effects of punching through layers and layers of stone, only to see that my character, who looked like Steve, now had glowing white eyes. That's all the time we have for today, friends. Thank you all so much for watching. I have been in Shower Main Connor Monroe, and I'll see you in another video.